Now, damn it. We have to go, I yelled. Put your Put your coats on already. Smirking, the kids looked from me to my husband, who disapproves of both my yelling and my language. But David just continued to silently lace their shoes. We were almost down the stairs when I realized I forgot something. I'll be right there, I called, dashing back to the bedroom. Where is it? I muttered as I rummaged through the drawers. Why does this always happen? Why always when we're late? Finally, I found them. A pair of silky black nylons, with the crotch cut out, still smelling faintly of sex. I shoved them into my jacket pocket and rushed back out. Instead of wearing their coats, the kids were now swinging them at each other, and instead of stopping them, David was just standing there, seething. Reminding myself that the delay was my fault, that David had every right to be irritated, and that all in all I had it pretty darn good in life, I smiled sweetly at my family. Whoever isn't downstairs in 1 minute loses their iPad time, I said, which did the trick. David was still irritated when we parted by the subway station, but the kids wouldn't have it. Have a good day at work. We love you, Daddy, roared Nathan, our 9-year-old, aggressively hugging David's legs. Gil, his 7-year-old brother, barreled into me from behind, toppling me into my husband's arms, who had to hold me to him so I wouldn't fall. And so does Mommy. Kiss her, Gil shrieked. Laughing, David and I embraced. Group hug, cheered the boys, piling onto us. The kids and I continued to the bus stop at a leisurely pace. They would be marked as late anyway, no point in rushing. Mom, do you know which animal lives the longest? Gil asked. Sea turtles, maybe? I think they can live to be over 150 years old, I replied, quoting from Finding Nemo. Nah, bro, said Nathan. It's the immortal jellyfish. They live forever. Nothing can live forever, Nathan, I countered. Everything must die eventually so that new creatures can be born. You see, not the immortal jellyfish, he interjected. Just look it up on your phone. I did once we reached the bus stop. Oh my God, you're right, I gasped. Turritopsy dorni, also known as the immortal jellyfish, is a tiny translucent invertebrate with the potential to live forever, I read out loud. Found in tropical waters worldwide, this fingernail-sized jellyfish has a unique ability to revert to its juvenile polyp stage after reaching sexual maturity. This process, called cellular transdifferentiation, involves the jellyfish's cells changing type to produce a completely different body plan, making it biologically immortal. Told you, Nathan gloated, more at Gil than at me. Okay, you got this one, Gil rolled his eyes. But do you know which animal is the strongest? I let the boys carry on among themselves as I continued to read on the bus. The immortal jellyfish starts its life out as a polyp, a tubular cluster of cells that attaches itself to others, forming a coral-like mass. But unlike corals, it doesn't reproduce by branching out. The polyps mature into individual sexual beings, male or female, bell-like medusas. The female bears eggs, which the male fertilizes. After coupling, the biological purpose of the individual jellyfish is fulfilled. This is the juncture in which any other jellyfish species, or any other species at all really, would begin to die. The praying mantis gets it over with the fastest, with the female gnawing the male's head off while his back end is still pumping. Mayflies, beetles, and butterflies of both genders drop dead mid-air days or hours after the fertilized eggs are laid. Warm-blooded species obviously take longer, living to copulate again and again while their bodies and minds decelerate, stagnate, and otherwise decline slowly towards death, each breed at its own pace. Only the immortal jellyfish doesn't. In a process too complicated for a 10-minute bus ride, I skipped that part. It somehow erases the specific qualities that made it male or female, reverting to time to an innocent, sexually immature state. They forget all about love and start over to love again. I dropped the kids off at school. Have a good day. I love you. Hug, kiss, bye. And continued to the adjacent coffee shop. There, in the bathroom, I removed my sneakers, socks, mom jeans, underwear, shirt, and sweater. I stood naked in front of the mirror for a moment, lightly caressing myself in what had become a sort of priming ritual. Then I pulled on the crotchless black nylons, a pleated schoolgirl skirt, a tight white top, and Mary Jane heels. I hid the entire outfit under my bulky puffer coat. I didn't want my master to see me looking like a middle-aged mom, but I didn't want the other moms to see me looking like a teenage slut either. My master, Joshua, that guy, lives in a 40-minute train ride from my children's school. Since the school reopened in 2022, this had been my cherished routine. Once or twice a week, I dropped off my husband, dropped off my kids, and traveled uptown to meet Joshua. I didn't always dress up for him, but he's been away for over 2 weeks, and we had parted on a somewhat sour note. I was bolstering my chances that we would reunite on a sweeter one. David and I have been married for 14 years. Joshua had been with us for 7 of them. There's an important backstory there, which I'll get to in the next chapter. For now, what I need to convey is this. Joshua and I are not new. Our dynamic is the same age that my marriage was, when he and I first connected. And though these two relationships couldn't be more different, one was about raising a family, the other about sexual exploration and spiritual growth, their pattern of aging has begun to look eerily similar. I've been slowly resigning myself to it, assuming it was a universal and inevitable fate. But was it now? I obviously don't know everything. Nathan just proved that. If a jellyfish can be infinitely reborn, could we? Maybe not infinitely, maybe just right now, and just in my own head. Could it be done? Could I start over? My subway car was crowded but peaceful, and I was seated. I closed my eyes and settled into the ambient rumble of the engines, the creaks and screeches of the wheels against tracks. I let my mind wander back through time. It paused on that moment 2 weeks ago when Joshua texted, "Don't come today. I've got too much to do," or something along those lines. And I replied, "Okay, have a good trip." To which he texted, "Thank you, love," meaning everything between us was painfully unspoken, stuck. That wasn't right, of course. I had to go further back, to the week before that, when Joshua was elbow deep inside me and I was desperately spasming around his arm, squirting and telling him that he owns me forever and that I will love him forever. And he said, "I love you too, my little slave." No, past that, much further past the thousands of orgasms and hundreds of fights, only a fraction of which were ever spoken out loud. Past the period of ravenous desire and torturous longing for him. Past the period of quiet, satisfied equilibrium. Past the times of hope and unyielding devotion, to before I was his slave, to before I was his submissive, to before I was his play partner, to before I was in love with him, which was on the night we met. Back even before I married David, before I ever loved him, before I knew he existed. Back to the moment I walked out of the airport, dragging with me only 2 carry-ons worth of identity. The sky was brilliant and cold blue, a different hue of blue than it was in the continent I called home. Nothing was familiar. Everything was new. Nothing was known. Everything was possible. Yes, that was it. That was the moment, the feeling. I let myself stay in it, breathing in the freedom, out the fear. The train reached my stop only a minute or 2 later. It was enough, though. Not a full cellular transdifferentiation, but enough to shift my own paradigm. I walked up the subway stairs, out of the station, through the crowds, past the food cart and into Joshua's building, up the stairs to his apartment. My heart was racing. It always does when I'm at Joshua's threshold, and not just because of the stairs. It's because it's true. Anything is possible, here more than elsewhere. I lifted my hand to knock on the door, but instead laid it flat against the black metal surface, waiting for my heart to slow. I could hear Joshua moving inside. If anything is possible, I prayed, then please, one more time, let us be reborn again. The end.
Yay. So, can you share what inspired you to make this a part of the story?
Sure. This is the second part of our story, mine and yours, and the people who are part of it. Woo! We almost lost the phone, but we didn't. Book number 1 is called Surviving Master Joshua, the BDSM memoir of an unfaithful wife. And this is where, in the editing, you will see the book right there. People who are alive, imagine it. It has a collar on the cover. Oh, wait, we have one?
Of course.
Amazing.
By the way, we did our 1-year anniversary on Beyond the Collar yesterday.
Congratulations.
And someone shared that your sharing was some of the most impactful that they heard.
Oh my God, thank you so much for telling me that. That's heartwarming.
Yeah, yesterday was a very inspiring day. I only have I only have the old OG.
That's good, that's good.
OG here, show what it's gonna look like.
There's a new color. It's more like
it's actually
a
on the
new
back.
cover. Yes. This is the cover of the other book, kind of?
Yeah,
This is the cover of this one. Enjoy it.
That's the OG. That's the OG photo. Here, let me do it on this side. Boop. Yeah, this is the original cover, but Amazon isn't so friendly with it, so we had to change it up a bit. It looks something like this, just that.
Yes, and in the edited version, it goes right here.
Awesome. Go ahead, take it away.
So, if we're probably doing a 2-part, right? So I'm going to read to you about how Joshua and I came to be and what's the backstory of that. Because there's a big backstory there, and that backstory is kind of like, that is the story of how we changed a lot of lives. Mine, his, and the lives that are attached to it.
So there's some comments here for you. Mm-hmm. I love listening to her. I found that book in a bookstore here. It's on my buy list.
Oh my God! Sorry.
That book is amazing. It lives on my nightstand. I loved reading your book. Yes.
I'm going to pass out. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That is so amazing. I will remember this moment. Thank you so much. That means so much to me that, like, it's not just... You make a book and you send it out there and that's it. You don't know about all that. So thank you so much for telling me.
So you were talking about these chapters and what's coming next and where we're coming from.
Right. So we reached a point in our relationship that it's almost a circle. It almost brings me back to before we met. And however, it's a new starting point. The old book starts with me and my husband reaching a point in our relationship in which a certain stagnation created the backdrop. Forget stagnation, that's a hard one, but it was a cycle. And it was a place in the relationship where the relationship and the life needed something new. And it got there. And the place that it begins with, this book, is the same place that you entered my husband and my story 7 years later. And it explores what's the similarities between that. It explores that phase in our relationship. It's very different because it's our relationship. So it explored that phase.
So now with these chapters, what are we stepping into?
We're stepping into an unfolding of the present time with new lessons, right? A new exploration. The first book was sort of an exploration. Besides being a story of shifting from monogamy to non-monogamy and opening up a marriage and discovering kink. It was all the discoveries at once. I mean, that book was sort of like a world. I fell into a world. Now I'm in that world already. And I'm exploring it again from a point of view of somebody very different. So it's exploring what poly is, what kink is, what is the scene, what is all these questions from a point of view who's somebody who's exploring them again, but from from a point of view of somebody who already learned a lot.
So how is it different now?
The first time around, my love story with you was entirely about you.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, my love story with you is part of my own putting together of things. Like the other story, it had a very classic structure. It was very much a Cinderella story in a way, right? That's how it felt like to me, at least. Like this dashing stranger, right, came and I had to drop my glass slipper on the floor, and he didn't chase me down, I chased him down. He dropped his glass slipper on the floor, to be accurate. I chased him. He was like, yo, you want to see how I live? And it became, the book is Surviving Master Joshua. I'm not even in it. I like the name of it. All I did was be unfaithful in that book. All I did was take slides. You know? Like, all I did was go with the current. Right? I made my choices. It was an adventure story, but I was not walking a path. I was, surviving a river.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So now, what are you noticing different now, coming in?
First time around, I was deathly afraid, right? Everything was, I was doing
Afraid of what?
I was afraid of losing my family because I was cheating on my husband, but also afraid of all the experiences that I was undergoing, right? Also afraid of big feelings that weren't supposed to be there. Afraid of making wrong decisions. Afraid of losing whatever I have. Afraid of all those things, which are absolutely understandable when you're just starting a journey, and especially if you didn't mean to.
Yeah. And now, how is it?
Now it is peaceful. It's like, when the first time you trip, I can't talk about that. The first time you try a legal psychedelic experience, tea. You try tea.
High dose marijuana,
TikTok, this is about legal shit. So the first time you try it, you don't know what's happening. And you're scared.
Yeah.
You're terrified. You think you're gonna die, right? But the second, the third time, the fourth time, this is happening. The stories are unfolding inside your own head. You have control over the stories that are unfolding inside your own head, even though it feels very real and intense.
Yeah.
You're in a thing.
So now, what permission does it give you? Like, what do you do? Tell us what you've been up to.
Chapter 2. No, yeah. This story, at this point, the story I'm going to read, I've been reframing. This book begins with reframing. It's not even reframing, it's repositioning our relationship, because our relationship did not change. The place it is taking in my life is changing. So, and it isn't the place it's taking in my life. What I mean by that is the relative gravity of each encounter between us in the storyline. Is the story about us, or is it about me? The second part is more about me than about us. We're in it. Because you have been the storyline, so this is the space I start from. And then I go out in different directions. Was that an answer?
Not really, but
So ask it again.
so what are the things that you've been up to?
I've been meeting people outside of our... Most of the time, Whoa! Maybe we can... Most of the time that I would say 99% of the time that I was, since I started in kink, which was 7 years ago when I met Joshua, was within Joshua's framework of events, people, circles. So I've kind of like been feeding off his, the leftovers I've been feeding off whatever he's been bringing in. So my club is his living room. Like where I go to, my people are his people, right? I know the world through his eyes. So I've been going to other places and seeing how other people see that world and how that world functions outside the framework of who we are. And it's been a little scary because it's like doing it all over again in some ways.
What have you learned?
That our approach is one among many, and that people have varying degrees of personal connection when the way people, what kink means to different people is different.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you have some examples?
Yeah, here, our kink was a lot, the kink I kind of absorbed from you. Our kink was a lot about building relationship and connection. So it was building a sort of very sturdy and lasting container with the people you play with. For me.
Yeah.
Right? We also teach different aspects of it, which means how to, and I use them a lot in this exploration. I very much leaned on them. How to engage with people you meet short term, but and pick up play and aspects like that. We learned a lot about that, and thank God, because that helped me a lot.
So you would say the mentorship really fucking put some tools into your pocket. Did you do the 6 month or the 6 week?
I did the first one.
The 6 month,
yes.
the long one.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Continue, please. I'm just putting this shit into perspective because
Sure.
we did cover a lot of fucking information,
Yeah.
and I talk about
No,
that
everything,
a lot.
everything. I just go back to I took notes, I made summaries. When I get back to like phase something, I go back, read that. Because it's super thorough. So you could do abbreviated versions of it, but that is everything you need.
Yeah.
It's in my bag. I take it like on first dates, and there's been a lot of first dates. So, where was I? Remind me?
What you were learning.
Right. So different people have different interests and different ways of approaching kink. And you said, which way? So in some places, it's more about the play, less about the connection. However, that is not less connective. There can be, what the shocker for me is they can be play in which you're not that close or familiar or attached to the people you're playing with, and it can still be
Meaningful.
Yeah, not just,
But
yes.
connected. You said connected as well.
Yeah, meaningful, but it's a different way of meaningful, as in, I'm getting something.
Yeah.
I just don't know what I'm getting, because it's different.
Well, you get a focus, you get attention, you get intention. You're someone's point of attention. All of it. Like, of course you get something.
I also like that's another shocker for me. I like when there's like it always seemed to me that it when I played in a group before, it was always sort of like pushing somebody else's energy out to maintain your circle and connection with whoever you with. Right? There was sort of like the attention goes to the person you're engaging with.
Yeah.
And the other people need to be managed somehow. It's like there's a subject and stuff that is external to the subject.
Okay.
Right? Like...
And what did you learn?
That you can be with a group. You can play with a group. There is an energy exchange there that is interesting.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be somebody who's...
The focal point.
Yeah. It doesn't have to have a single focal point. You can...
Yeah, welcome to today. Yes.
All right, not even single, but it was always sort of like limited focal point.
Yeah.
But there's like a state where it's sort of like...
It exists.
More vibe-like.
Yeah. Where it's not a thing.
It's just... Relationships are separate.
Mm-hmm.
Connections are kind of like a little bit separate from the engagement itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of needs to be there for safety before and after, the emotional safety, because you don't want to... That's something too, right? You don't want to leave feeling like, I know these people, fuck them. You know, you want to leave feeling like there was something real that happened here and we are somehow closer because of it, and I know your name. That's kind of important. Like, we have a rapport. Even though it's not...
Personal.
Yes. It is personal, but it's not, yeah. Which is what you told me 7 years ago, and I got deeply offended by it. But I get it.
Yeah, because you've carried a lot of this misunderstanding or different understanding for a long time, so I'm happy that you're finally getting it. Because there's been a lot of unnecessary conflict without knowing that as a reality. Right? Because that's what stemmed a lot of your discourse, is the inability to not make a big deal of it. Like, people are just existing.
Yeah. I would say being able to embrace that piece meant letting go of a different piece. And that different piece was, very... I felt that it is in some way sacred, like a sacred cow, like something I didn't want to give up, like, like a blankie. It was close to my heart. I didn't want to let it go.
What was close to your heart?
The whole, it's not about me, it's about us part. It's not about...
the letting go part was, it's about me.
The letting go part is it's about the dance, not the dancer, right?
So the letting go part is letting go of the dancer, that it's about the dance.
Yeah, though I don't let go of the dancer. I just acknowledge that it's about the dance.
Yeah. So it's about the dance.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to...
Still keeping the dancer. You're the dancer, if you didn't realize. So I'm like, stay just where you're at.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, guys. Stay where you're at.
How else does it differ?
Redefine it, please.
What you've been learning.
How does what I differ... How was what I'm learning differ than what I knew
like
before?
Coming in now the second time.
Yeah.
Like, what else are you learning?
What I'm learning is the space you're in is more important than any of the specific people that are in the space. The harmony of the space, like being a good guest is more important than getting whoever you want in whatever position you want.
Really?
Yes.
How'd
Come
you
on,
learn
don't look like such a. I'm glad you finally learned that.
How'd you learn that?
Just because, I didn't learn it on the wrong way. I didn't learn it by doing something wrong. This is just how I'm entering it. I didn't learn it by, I touched an iron. I didn't touch an iron.
Yeah.
I was like, I just felt the harmony that comes from it. the feeling of it brings a feeling of being safe in the space.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing, you're doing your best to be an asset. And to behave properly and and it's not easy. It's not fucking easy. Sorry, TikTok. It's not easy in kink spaces. It's not easy to, a lot comes up.
What do you mean? What makes it difficult?
But to be a good guest, what makes it difficult is sort of like when it comes to play, there's a certain amount of letting go and letting loose and kind of flowing with it and being in the moment. But you also need to remember what rules apply and you need to obey those rules and how important keeping those rules is for the harmony of wherever you're at. And I mean, a lot of people, a lot of the time, kind of lose it.
What do you mean by losing?
I mean, they lose they lose their track of where they're at. They get excited and carried away, right? Now when I'm walking in a space, I'm the one who's correction, I'm not the one, but when somebody is in my aura space, within my reach, and they're focused on what they're doing more than about what they're supposed to be doing right now or not supposed to be doing. Yeah, if you're in an event where kissing or boundaries, where kissing or biting or undressing or taking a step forward is not welcome, but the interaction is not welcome, is not now. There's time and place.
Give me an example.
It's in a massage situation, right?
Is this a class?
Class, workshop. Yeah.
Okay, that matters because if it's a play party, give details because that needs to be particular.
I understand. Okay, I'm just coming to thank you for that piece of information because I didn't even realize that. Yes, so it's in a workshop, and there's a certain amount of getting into it that is welcome, but there's also a certain amount that puts a weight on the host to monitor you and keep you kind of in line and at the same level as anybody else. And
Say like you're talking to me like a third grader.
Like a third grader.
You don't have to put any fancy words to it.
Yeah.
You could just put it straight out. I was in a central massage class.
Right.
And there was rules of not too intimate, understanding that it's an intimate massage class, something like this. And then the person next to me...
Well, it wasn't not too intimate because the invitation to get intimate was there, but the instructions were, first phase, you keep your clothes on.
Okay.
If you want to take
So they
your
were moving
clothes
too fast for what the schedule and the vibe of the room, they weren't reading the room.
Yeah. Very subtly so. I mean, we didn't even get to the point where they weren't reading the room.
Yeah.
Because I was capable of reading the room at that point. So I was like, okay, if we want to get naked, there's a side of the room where naked people are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if we don't want to get naked, then stop. Stop that. This stays on for now. I have to admit, I wasn't on top of it the whole night, but I was able to be on top of it because it was clear that, those were the instructions.
Yeah.
And people do kind of lose their head a little bit. And it's okay. It's part of the dynamic, but it makes it harder on the host. Because the host has to be like, hey, he has to keep his eye open and see what people are doing and then decide if some of them need to be sent somewhere or not, or told something or not. And you can see from the body language and his face that it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he's like, it puts him in a struggle. And things will be so much more flowing for him if... Was that clear?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect.
And I did learn it from, you were the iron, I guess. Sorry about that.
What this allows people to hear what it's like to go out there and do these things. So
Got it.
yeah, the details matter. Somebody that you know by the sweetest king says, LOL, I know that class.
Cool. I don't know who the sweetest king is.
Yeah, you
but
do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
you
do. Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Hi.
Can I have some of this liquid? Oh my God, I'm being put on the spot here more than before even.
That's my hand. Look, that's my ring. Oh, and she's back. Here's some Coca-Cola.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the apple juice.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. All right, so you've learned time and place. You've learned nothing personal, and it's personal.
Sometimes it's not nothing personal, right? If there is a relationship.
Yeah.
But it's all like more fluid. It isn't like, I mean, when I just started discovering play parties, the whole idea of walking with somebody and doing things with other people during that night was offensive.
Yeah.
It was offensive. And I'm still like very, like I have a difficult time bringing friends to play parties because it still is kind of like, I can't do that to somebody.
What do you mean?
I can't come with somebody and then play with other people in an event. It feels like my programming is like, no, you don't do that. My programming is sort of like, that's an asshole move.